Ryan, your question is it has to stay consistent. Yeah, the structure, right? There's a flow. And that relationship between premises and conclusion is called inference, right? And this is something that, I mean, you know, we might take this for granted. Perhaps neuropsychologists have a little bit more to say about this, but inferential reasoning, at least for adults, tends to be pretty intuitive, right? This comes from the fact that we are pattern recognizers, right? That's what our human brains are really good at. That's what we've evolved to do quite well. And so what we're doing when we assess the structure of an argument is really doing pattern recognition. And so that's why the website that I gave you is going to be really useful, because it shows you in symbolic form. I'll share my screen with you here, what these patterns look like. All right, so I think you're all able to see this. So this was the website, or the link that I shared with you already. But the idea here is that we can work with just these basic deductively valid argument forms. And if we can put something into this form, right, regardless of what we plug in, again, I put in some really weird stuff, right? Treat these like variables of math, right? I can plug anything in for P, but whatever I plug in for P in premise 1, I also have to plug in for P on premise 2, right? And same for Q. But you can see the structure and the pattern is different, right? So here, if P then Q, P therefore Q, same one at the beginning here, same at the beginning here. But because the second premise is different, right, the conclusion is going to be different for each one, right? So the way we structure our arguments is really important in terms of the type of relationship, right, that we're establishing. And then, of course, what sort of proof, demonstrative proof in terms of deductive arguments, we're going to be giving for our conclusions. Okay, so there are lots of possibilities here. You don't necessarily have to worry about this for your own arguments until next week, but you will have some questions on this week's quiz about logic and the different argument forms, which goes with the reading. So let's talk about questions regarding logic. Questions about logic, because it's a lot. Argument forms, if you're not like super mathy person, it might be super intimidating, but there are grammar tricks. But the hardest part for logic, if it feels mathy to you, is when we're translating from, like, if I gave you a paragraph and I was like, turn this into a deductively valid form, like that's the tricky part. But we're going to be doing it the other way. We're going to be creating arguments ourselves. So let me share one more link with you all. This is my sort of like secret weapon. So you're not going to be able to find it in a very obvious place in the future because I want you all to try on your own. I'm giving it to you now. And this is a tool that will basically make sure that your argument is valid. So I want you to play around with this. It's got all of the different deductively valid argument forms on it. And I want you to see the relationship when you type in something into one part of the argument, it's going to automatically populate in the other places accordingly. And you can even make all the arguments work together so you can see the relationship, but it's just a really useful tool to help us understand these types of logical relationships.